All right, so we're gonna just continue on with the process here. So you see here that this is the quote sandwich that I made in the last video. And all I'm going to do is just take it, and I mean, you could just completely bypass using the slides. I mean, there's nothing special about that. I was just using that for demonstration. I'm going to take that and I'm going to paste it right into here, what I already have. And I already kind of spoke about what I had before in my essay in class, but if you missed class or if you just didn't hear it, I originally started off my essay, and the theme that I wanted to talk about, I was going to talk about, the importance of family. But one of the things that I was reminded of in the story was that when I was digging for some evidence, is I found that Bernie had taught Heidi how to read, and one of the stories that they read was Charlotte's Web. So that kind of just got me thinking that about quotes, because I love using quotes as a hook. There's plenty of other good hooks to use, but I just love using quotes. It's just kind of a thing that I love to do. And if you can tie something in that you already love with your writing, then why not? So I started looking for some quotes from Charlotte's Web, and I came across this quote that you see here on the screen that I'm highlighting. It says, "After all, what's a life anyway? We're born, we live a little while, and we die." Okay, and that's, of course, a quote from Charlotte's Web. And that really kind of started getting my mind working more on just the death as part of life. And so I kind of rethought through what I needed to, what I wanted to do. Now, if you look, I don't have much of an introduction yet. All I have is my quote, and I want to have something about, in similar fashion, Sarah Weeks develops this theme over the course of So Be It. And of course, the theme being death is part of life. I'm not really sure on this yet. This may end up, this sentence right here may end up going away. I'm not sure, but I'm just leaving it there for now. It's just to hold my spot. And I also like the idea when talking about death as part of life. I like the idea of personification. We see a lot of movies where death is personified as like the Grim Reaper or something spooky. So I kind of like that idea of tying that into my writing. Not that I'm trying to write a narrative, but I can personify it a little bit. So I just kind of started off with death is first introduced after the birthday celebration for Bernie's father on the way home when he dropped dead of a heart attack. Now, you think back and you say, well, that's not an interaction. So in order to be able to use that, I needed to find an interaction where it made sense. So death's impact can be seen when Bernie makes her first attempt to exit her apartment only to turn to liquid. That was the term that was used in the book. And then she, crying out to Heidi, she said, "Save me, I'm drowning." So this illustrates the idea that death can and does come and has the potential to change life, okay? It comes at any time, and it has the potential to change everything. So notice how I was able to use this instance of death, because this instance here of death kind of led to her agoraphobia, which led to other things. All right, and then I want you to notice how I kept with the commentary. So it illustrates the idea that death can come at any time and has potential to change everything. And I just kept going, saying that seeing her father die before her eyes in an instant changed Bernie's life forever, leading to Bernie's agoraphobia, preventing her from leaving her apartment and being home the night Heidi and Mama were helplessly standing in the hall of her apartment building. Furthermore, death is shown as another step in life rather than only an ending. So then I went on to my next piece of evidence. My next piece of evidence, death had already been hard at work in the story, but he shows up again soon in another character story. So now we're moving on to another story. So when Heidi, now on the bus to Liberty, asks her new writing partner, Georgia, about her mother, she states, I don't really remember because she got cancer and died when I was 5. So I introduced my quote, I gave my quote, and then my commentary. This provides yet another example of how an event as significant as a loss of life seemingly becomes a nonchalant remark. Death may be the final word for some, but those left behind must continue living their lives. This implies that death can have drastically different roles in the lives of others. So what we see here is for her, when for Georgia, when her um, mother died, it didn't cause any kind of agoraphobia. She's able just to say, I don't know, I forgot her. I was 5. And so it's not as big of a deal. So we have just another way that death is part of life. And then, of course, you take the quote sandwich that we looked at in the previous video, and we just finish up with this. Sarah Weeks stresses that death is part of life through an interaction with Thurman Hill that reminds the reader of events seen earlier in the story where Mama freaked out at the sound of a bus. And I'm not going to read all of it because you can go back to the previous video and you can see it here on the screen. And you kind of see that I could go back in here and I could change it to where death is more personified like it was in the previous paragraphs. But you kind of see the idea of how this is unfolding, or at least I hope you do. So the key to all of this is to find your evidence, okay, interpret your evidence, and then give your commentary, okay? Or if you jump straight to the quote sandwich, find your evidence, introduce the quote, and then just give your commentary. Talk about how that quote shows you your theme. Okay, and that's it. Okay, and then the introduction and the conclusion can be worked on at a later time. It doesn't have to be done right now. All right, I hope these videos help, at least a little bit.